What a pleasure it is to be here in this room with all of you, and what a pleasure to sit across from you on this occasion. And I am excited to delve into the wild world of Bob Honey. But before we get into, say, the specifics of this book, in addition to being an author myself, I am also a editor and a book coach. And in my work as a coach, I've really found that there's a lot to be gained from asking some of the big picture questions about the project, about the book project. Namely, why, right? And why on a number of levels. First of all, why write a novel? Why delve into fiction? You have this long and storied career as an actor and a human rights activist. So, number one, why write fiction? Number two, why out of all possible books? Why this particular book? And three, why this book now? And the last question may be the most difficult because, of course, the writing process is very long and the publishing process is a long one too. But, I suppose I'm interested in what this book has to say about our particular moment that we find ourselves in now. So that's a three-part question. Why write fiction? Why this particular book? And why this book? Why now?
Okay. I'm going to start because I can forget myself. And first to say, I was telling Susan, we met briefly before we came out, that I'm pretty much been a nonfiction reader for the last decade or so, and I'll get into one or two novels a year, and just totally coincidentally, several months ago, somebody had given me Hot Season, her wonderful novel, and so I just want to, I'm very grateful that it's you doing this.
Thank you.
So I'm going to try to, you interrupt me if I'm not answering the three-part question. The first part is the kind of why. Over the years, after being very lucky to do the things that I've gotten to do, the other side of it is I subjected myself to what comes with that, which is answering why about things. Why did you do that movie? Why didn't you do that movie? And I have increasingly become somebody, because we all ask ourselves that question about anything we do, and we can only come up with so good an answer. You try to formulate answers that are expressive or impressive or somehow are a journey to explore to see if you can come up with an answer to it. And really, as it turns out, I found myself getting more and more comfortable defining myself as someone who just does stuff. And that's sort of where this title comes from, is so, but now I will try to say why. So I had, in terms of the why write the book, I'd come to a point in collaborative creative enterprises, knowing that all of my pride in collaboration and whatever strength I had in that world, the movie world or the theater world that way, was always that I thought the thing I had best to offer was as a collaborator, whether it's with the material or with the other actors or the director, the writer. But I've grown tired of collaborating, and I play less well with others. And you really need to love that. You can still do it, but it becomes miserable if you're working against the wind like that, knowing that the only thing you have to offer is collaboration, and the only thing you don't want to do is collaborate. In a creative sense, I'd like to think I'd like to collaborate in a human sense, but I'm not even sure. So so inevitably it led me to get to what I'd kind of been threatening in my mind to do, since I first started speaking, which wasn't until about 5. Once I did start speaking, as you can see in the beginning of this answer, I never stopped. and I wanted to write a novel, and I didn't know if I would be dead and defined by having procrastinated too long. As it turns out, I've at least got one done. And why this one at this time? Well, it's the one that came to me. It was the kind of merging of a period of knowing that it was time to leave something out and kind of evolve it into something else. And this title was a title that I was somewhere in the world where there was no access to a cell phone, but I had a sat phone, and I was able to get through to my assistant in Los Angeles and say, hey, type this into your phone, and that was the title to this book. And then when I got back, I started. And when I got started was right around the time that I had to do something to get away from the news, or to get away from spending too much time paying attention to the news, because the world had become, or let's say, as I write in the book, the autumn of the age of reason, and I wanted to maintain my own.